Welcome in. It's a Wednesday edition of College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. Got a busy show today. My good friend Jake Crain from the Daily Wire, Crain and Company, will be along, as well as questions and answers from you, the fans, plus a notorious coach gets a gift. All that and more on this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered.
You are Locked On College Football, Smothered and Covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, thanks for making this your first listen every single day. Really appreciate the love. Really appreciate the support for College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and, of course, on YouTube as well, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And, of course, spread the word. Whether I know that you know how to do the podcast thing, but your brother, your aunt, your sister might not. So please let them know. Now, hey, this show brought to you by FanDuel now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. You know, NFL season starts off on Thursday night. You know you want to watch that as well. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Speaking of started, you know what today is. You know what time it is. It is fan question and answer day. That's what we do every Wednesday. So we're going to get to a couple of those before we get to my good friend Jake Crain. So antigen shift, a really good question on X. And we haven't really talked about this team, and that is the Auburn Tigers. He said, help me underreact and overreact to Auburn's 73-3 win over Alabama A&M. So we're going to be positive right out of the gate. We're going to talk about how to overreact first. If you overreact, you're being a little aggressive. Being a little aggressive. It's Alabama A&M. It's Auburn. This is supposed to happen. So it's not time to freak out. Don't overreact to it. It's just one game against an overmatched opponent that had literally no shot. So that's how we overreact. But I know you can say, hey, you know what? They lost to New Mexico State last year. They struggled with some FCS teams. It's not a good Auburn team. And they looked like a fantastic team. This is how you underreact. And I joked with some friends the other day. It's like, clearly Auburn is the best team in the country after beating Alabama A&M 73-3. I don't see how you could think anything else. Here's what I think you should take away from this. If you overreact, Peyton Thorne's a superstar. You have 6 different wide receivers. The defense looks great. The offensive line looks tremendous. And they're going to be national champions. Because they did look like it. They did look like it against Alabama A&M. So that's how you overreact. Here's how you properly react to Auburn's win on Saturday. Peyton Thorne threw some dimes. He threw some NFL caliber passes. He looked like he did a couple years ago at Michigan State when Kenneth Walker was on that team and he led Michigan State to a New Year's Six bowl game. He honestly did look like that. So instead of getting ground balls, which is something that Peyton Thorne has done quite a bit throughout the course of his first season at Auburn, you saw him look like the guy that Hugh Freeze touted him to be. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that there are weapons all over the place outside. And here's exactly what I mean by that. Robert Lewis and Rivaldo Fairweather each had 1 catch. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, that's not good. That's bad. Those are 2 guys who are being counted on to be stars. No, that's good. Because what you did see is Keandre Lambert-Smith, the Penn State transfer, show up and show out. You saw Perry Thompson. You saw Malcolm Simmons. And then you saw the freshman Cam Coleman play well in addition to all of those other guys. So I just named off 4 guys that are not Robert Lewis or Rivaldo Fairweather. I don't care who you're playing. Auburn's wide receivers didn't get open last year. Flat out did not get open. So Peyton Thorne completing those passes, having that kind of success through the air against a team that's fielding 11 players on defense is a massive development. A massive development. So that's how I think you properly react. Overreaction is they're one of the best teams in the SEC because they're not. They looked like it, but they're not. But I picked them to go 8-4. And the reason I picked them to go 8-4 is exactly what we saw. They actually have a dynamic offense that is built where Peyton Thorne can look like the guy that Auburn recruited back in the day. So it was an impressive performance by Auburn. And I know you can say this for Ole Miss, you can say this for Alabama, you can say this for all these teams, Arkansas, Missouri. Well, hey, look at the competition, Tennessee. Oh, look at the competition. Okay, fine. But you still have to judge what you saw from each of those teams based on what you saw, no matter who the opponent is. And Auburn looked good. Speaking of cupcakes, at C. Brent V3, should you have at least one of your first 2 games be a conference game? Should we do away with the cupcakes? I am all for one of your first 2 games being a conference game. I'm all for it. Because in this day and age, you can afford to lose it. It's not ideal, but you can afford to lose it. So early in the season, if you create compelling, interesting matchups, it creates storylines for the entire sport, and it lets each team know where it is. Take Boston College and Florida State, for example. Florida State's in a disastrous place, but Boston College actually looked really good. Georgia Tech played 1 conference game. Out of the gate, they looked really good. I'm all for that. I think that is a fantastic way for a team to gauge where they are, what they need to do moving forward, knowing that a loss is not going to derail their season. Now, again, this is a system I hate. I love the BCS. I love the 14 playoff. I'm a minimalist, but that's not the system we have right now. The system we have right now is the 12-team playoff. So we have to discuss all of these questions with that umbrella. As far as cupcake games go, I know there are a lot of folks that hate them. And I get it, the competition and the TV attractiveness kind of sucks. I get it. But I'm all for opportunity. And I'm not talking about opportunity for wins. I'm talking about opportunity for athletes all over the country to have the ability to go to school, play their sport, and whether it's a partial scholarship or a full scholarship, go to school to help them better their lives, either athletically or professionally as an architect or whatever. So if you take away those cupcake games, you're taking away money from those schools that they use to fund their entire athletic departments, not their football programs, their entire athletic departments. If you don't have those cupcake games, you're going to see sports across the country at the D2 level, the D3 level, the FCS level. They're going to go away. And I'm not talking about football. Football's going to stay. But I want Furman to have a tennis program. I have a friend who was a tennis player at Furman. If they don't play that game against Ole Miss, they might not have that program. So I get it from a football perspective. It's frustrating. I'm with you. But this is something that matters. Now, in a perfect world for me, I know you're going to say you could do it in the spring, but that's not that attractive. In a perfect world for me, I would say all of those games have to be within the state where these state systems benefit. So we just talked about Auburn. Auburn plays Alabama A&M. Clemson or South Carolina plays Furman. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will talk to my good friend, Jake Crain, of the Crain Company. I'm Barrett Salee. It's college football smothered and covered. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. The show brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED, headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber. You're not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home those huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to customers in the United States. Joined now by a good friend, karaoke partner, Media Days tourist, guy who did not go to karaoke this past summer in Dallas. Very disappointed in Jake Crain from Crain and Company. Of course, you can get that on the Daily Wire. What's up, dude?
Man, it's like Morgan Wallen, dude. It was my voice. I had voice problems. I had performed too much karaoke before that. But no, this next year in Atlanta, right? That's where it's going to be in the ATL.
Yeah, so there's this place called the Dark Horse in Virginia Highlands, and it's live band karaoke.
No way.
They can play anything, like rock, rap, anything, country. And
this is my moment. This is my moment.
It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to call them before Media Days and try to reserve a room or reserve a table for 70 people. So,
oh god, I'm so ready for that. It's my American Idol moment. I want to be y'all's Chris Daughtry.
Chris Daughtry. I love it. All right, so let's get into what we saw last weekend. I am confused on Michigan, right? We heard Davis Warren was going to start right before the game. We all thought it was Alex Orji. Alex came in. He had 6, 7 carries. He attempted 2 passes. And I wrote this week on Outkick, this is the worst possible scenario that you could have, because now you're going into Texas and you have no freaking clue what to do. And the only way I can provide some reason for it is that they can afford a loss. But that's a stupid reason. What do you make of where Michigan is right now?
Well, one could say Michigan may be given mixed signals about who the starting quarterback's going to be. But listen, when you look at the nuts and bolts of this game, I think, now after seeing both teams play, the path for Michigan to win this game is more narrow than it was before, because the offensive line, and I want to give Fresno State a lot of credit, didn't look very dominant, and it is their first game all playing together with what they had to replace, and I get that. But still, at some point, you're Michigan, you should push Fresno State around. Again, Fresno State's a quality football team, but that dam should have broke a lot earlier than it did. So if you're Michigan and you're looking for a way to win this game, obviously playing keep away on offense, the less Quinn Ewers and Sarkisian have a chance to put the offense on the field, obviously the less likelihood they have to score. And with the new clock rules, you can do that. But the problem for Michigan is going to be eventually Sark is going to get you a couple times. As good as you can play on defense, as talented as Michigan is on defense, they could play great defensively for 85% of the game. But Sark is going to find a way through route combinations, through rubs, picks, things like that, to get guys open for a couple big plays. So when that does happen, how is Michigan going to be able to score enough points offensively with this group and really this team to be able to win the game? Well, to me, you're going to have to make a big special teams play or score a touchdown on defense. You're going to have to find a way to steal 6 points, steal 7 points, or even steal a field goal. Field position is going to be massive in this game. Michigan's punter has to have a great day. The kickoff guy, if we're going to bang this thing out of the back of the end zone, bang it out of the back of the end zone. And when you got a chance to hit the 3-pointers, if you're Michigan and Texas, really, you got to hit them to be able to acclimate points. But I just wonder, Barrett, even if a lot of things go right for Michigan, and this is a low-scoring game and it's tied in the first half, What happens when they go down 7 and find themselves in 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7?
Yep.
Not that Davis Warren can't make the throws, but we were talking about this yesterday. If you're Michigan, some people are like, well, just pitch backwards. Just throw on first down off play action, get them on their toes. Well, that's great. But when you saw Davis Warren go up and down, and don't even get me started about Orji throwing the ball, you better be right on that first down, because 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 10 is might as well be California for the way that this offense is built. But I will say this, Barrett, to put a bow on it. I really warned Texas defensively. Do not fall into the same trap that Ohio State fell into and Jim Knowles fell into 2 years ago, which you say, oh, this team can't throw the ball. Why would we not just load the box and play zero coverage behind it? Which zero coverage means you're naked. There is no help. There is no safety. Well, if you want a way to let Michigan hit an explosive play, just line up in zero coverage because you don't respect them at the skill position. Have a guy fall down. Have a guy have bad eye discipline. Have a guy take a wrong step. That doesn't lead to a first down. That leads to a touchdown. So if I'm Texas, not saying you don't play some zero at times, but if you're going to rely on that and just think we're going to fight this thing in a storage booth, like I caution them to do that too much.
Watching Texas on Saturday, I know it's Colorado State. I really hate, and I talked about this in the first segment of the show, I hate this. Like, well, guess who they played? I mean, look, you can still judge a team based on what they did. Yep. It doesn't matter who they played. I know Texas going into the season, the wide receivers were a question, and spare me with the Isaiah Bond stuff. I know he scored, but I mean, I've been on record with my questions with Isaiah Bond, but they spread it around to a bunch of different receivers. And I think that's something that's important because Quinn's going to have to do that. He understood that going into this Michigan game. Last time I checked, Michigan's secondary, it's pretty good. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. To me, that was the most important part of that Texas game. So in your mind, what did you see from the Longhorns that impressed you, but what did they need to work to watch out for against a defense like Michigan that we know can bring it?
Yeah, look, Texas is better than Colorado State, but let's not forget Colorado State isn't Arkansas Pine Bluff or
they're not.
Alabama A&M. Nicolosi, allegedly got offered a king's ransom to go play quarterback, according to Colorado State's head coach. And they got a receiver that's an NFL guy too. On the line of scrimmage, I wanted to see how Texas's front seven was going to adjust from an identity standpoint, if at all, with Bo Davis going to LSU. Right. I think Bo Davis was a key piece of helping Sarkisian change that culture from Club Med to Judge Dredd out there in Austin, where they're able to actually not only win a fist fight, but they want to get into a fist fight. I saw a little bit of that same nastiness. So if you're a Texas fan, that's one of the main things you wanted to see. Can that physical mantra that got you where you went last year carry over to this year, even though there's been some fluidity in the coaching staff? Outside of the turnover, that Quinn had, I think he threw an interception in the first half of that game. I mean, I had the multi-view on. I had the multi-view on the laptop, had everything going. I was like the architect from the Matrix with all those TVs. But the thing I want to see against it
in a direct TV to screw everybody.
Oh, yeah. No, I've had YouTube TV for the last couple of years. It's hashtag It's the Movement. I
got Fubo. Fubo, I got it on
Fubo?
Monday. I just got it. I'm very happy. Very happy.
Okay. I got a couple buddies that just got it. I haven't talked to him about it. You're the first person that's given me returns on it. That's good to hear. But when I'm looking at Texas, what I need to see against Michigan, I'm not worried offensively about Texas getting in the right play. Right. And even on the road, I'm not worried about Sarkisian putting a plan together where they're able to out formation you some and out leverage you some. We saw that against Bama last year. What I am fascinated by is how, again, this Texas front seven can put Michigan in disadvantageous third downs. So if you're a Texas fan, you always want to win first down. You always want to win second down. But in this case, 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7 is basically 3rd and 12. So I need to see this Texas defensive line, even when Michigan, and your eye discipline has to be so good in this game, because the amount of boots, the amount of heavy personnel misdirection that you're going to get, the amount of what we call trade motion, which is where you get in 12 personnel like Michigan does, and you take both tight ends and flip them to the other side of the formation, which changes everything about how you call the strength. They do it a lot, and don't be shocked at all. And I don't want to get too technical here, but don't be shocked at all if you see both of these teams, because both these guys are really smart offensively, do a lot of formation into the boundary, which means that your strength is actually to the short side of the field, which some people call stubby, things like that. It screws your alignment and your dividers up so badly that you're almost having to adjust just on the fly and hope you're somewhat right. Sarkisian makes a living killing people in the pass game and the run game with formation in the boundary, and I think you're going to see Michigan do that a lot with heavy personnel, jumbo personnel. I mean, you may see 22 personnel in this game with formation into the boundary. How disciplined can you be when you get these alternative or exotic formations, especially into the boundary?
Man, 22 formation. That's sexy. Love that.
Dude, yeah. It's that one you're going to find out really who's got the hair on their chest on that one.
My dude Jacob Hester, who I work with at SiriusXM, his ears perked up and he's just like, "Hell yeah. Let's go."
Oh, that's his favorite flavor ice cream right there, brother.
Oh, it is. No doubt. No doubt. That's his $50 steak. So, let's go I guess it's northwest or southwest a little bit. Not much, but Lincoln, Nebraska. Colorado, man. Everyone's got Colorado takes. I want to talk about Nebraska. Dylan Raiola looked money in game one.
Yeah.
If you're looking at this Colorado defense against that quarterback on a Matt Rule coach team, what do you expect from Dylan Raiola? Because we know what we're getting from Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Shedeur Sanders can make throws with 10 guys in his face. Like, we've seen that. But could Dylan Raiola be the better quarterback in this game?
Maybe eventually down the road. I think it's too early to tell. There may be a point where that happens, but whether you like Deion Sanders or not, or Shedeur or not, Shedeur can ball, man. Like, yes, I mean, you got to call, like, you can hate the man off the field, but on the field, you do got to show him some respect. I mean, women lie, men lie, the tape doesn't lie. But Dylan has a ton of talent. We just got to see more, right, from Dylan in bigger moments before we say that. I mean, I think you could throw Nico in that conversation too. To be honest with you, I don't mean to put the horse cart before the horse or whatever. But here's what I'm looking for Colorado. We can talk about offensively. Don't forget, Tony White has got incredible defensive acumen and puts incredible plans together. Nebraska's defensive coordinator. The plan he had last year against Colorado was just immaculate, and it kept him in the game. They couldn't even catch a snap at quarterback, and they were able to stay in some of these games. So what I'm interested to see is now against this new offense, Pat Shurmur, we know Sean Lewis left to go be the head coach at San Diego State. How similar is Tony White's plan going to be to last year? Because, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they have tape on what you want to do to him, even though the system was different. How do you want to handle Shedeur? You're right. It's like lying out of the cage. You want to keep him in the circle right there. You can't let him get out and start creating. Same thing with Cam Ward. But I tell you what I think this game's going to come down to, and it's what every Colorado game is going to come down to, and that's defensively. Can you stop the run? I know Nebraska played UTEP, but I really liked how in sync their offensive line was. The communication was really good, especially having a true freshman quarterback back there. And they understand they got to help him a little bit with that stuff, right? Being able to understand the pass protection on a level where you're basically the quarterback playing offensive line. But if Nebraska, all these Dylan and Shedeur and all that's nice, but if Nebraska is able to run the ball consistently, if they're able to run the ball for 3.5 and 4 yards a pop, Colorado may not stop them on one drive this game. Because Matt Rule's really good in what he wants to do in play action. Dylan Raiola, I think, is a guy that moves well enough in the pocket and outside of the pocket, whether that's boots, throwing off platform to his right, throwing off platform to his left. If Nebraska can line up and run the ball consistently, and I thought Colorado did better than most people thought they would do against North Dakota State. What really hurt them was the pass game, right? I mean, Cade threw for like, what, 277, something like that, something nuts. But I'm just wondering how greedy will Nebraska get even if the run game is working? Because when you have that Lamborghini, you want to drive it, Barrett. You don't want to just let it sit in the garage. It may add value because you're not devaluing it by driving it, but I bought this Lambo to drive it. Damn it, I want to drive it. So how patient will Matt Rule and Dylan Raiola be? But I tell you, man, one thing, and you won't know this unless you played there. We played in Lincoln when I was coaching at South Alabama, and I'm thinking this may have an effect. Colorado talks about, hey, it's personal. Everything's, all these fans talking trash to him. Hey, it's personal.
Everything's personal with that team.
But Nebraska may have the smartest fan base in the country. When we went there and played, everywhere else we went, we'd show up. They'd be by, their opposing fans would show up flicking us off. Y'all suck. Y'all are the worst. And it would gas our guys up, man. I'm talking about, there's nothing like going on the road and feeling like you're all standing alone together with your team. But Nebraska doesn't do that. You get off the bus, they're like, hey, guys, welcome to Lincoln. Like, good luck today. Y'all go get, like, I told my guys, like, I got in the locker room, I was like, it's a trick. It's a trick. They're trying to trick you. Like, but I got more respect for Nebraska fans because I think they're all in on it. I think it's the biggest, like, thing that nobody talks about in college football. And I'm wondering if that may have a little bit of effect on this Colorado team. And everybody's like, Shedeur, you're the best. And you look, he's got a Nebraska shirt on with, like, his dad at, like, his first game. I'm telling you, Barrett, I was having to try and talk trash to my own guys to get them gassed up, ready to play at Nebraska.
That's wild. And look, that fan base, you're right. They get overlooked because maybe Nebraska, just because they've been off the radar. But man, there's not a more passionate, like Nebraska and South Carolina, of the teams now that are kind of afterthoughts. Those two fan bases, man.
Oh, dude,
they are fantastic.
Well,
right.
Bear, it's real quick. It's one thing to be like passionate and like hate and hate and hate and hate. It's another thing to be so passionate you make the smart play. Like, that's the thing that's crazy. Like, that is the purest form of passion. It's called killing them with kindness.
Yep.
And they're the only people I've ever seen do it.
It's going to be a phenomenal game. There's no doubt. All right, last thing. We saw Notre Dame on Saturday night, and Conner Weigman. Conner Weigman was a disaster. Disaster. Is it more a byproduct of Conner just not being prepared to be a starting quarterback with expectations with a new coach, or is Notre Dame's defense just that good? Because to me, on the interior, they were running stunt after stunt after stunt, and Conner had no clue what was happening.
Yeah. Well, Barrett, it's funny. You know, my brother is over my house and we're watching that game. And first off, I want to say, I thought Al Golden and Notre Dame's defense not only had a great plan, but they executed that plan really, really well. There was very, very minimal busts in that game. And busts just aren't guys running wide open. It's having the wrong leverage and letting a guy break outside on 3rd and 5 and get 6 yards for a first down. It's not holding your right gap, right? It's not having your eyes in the right place. But halfway through that game, I looked at my brother and was like, because we talked about before, there's a couple quarterbacks that got hurt last year that we just wanted to see run around. Like, I wanted to see Cam Rising at Utah run around. Even though they were playing Southern Utah, I just wanted to see it. And then Conner was another one. Cam looked fine in the pocket, but halfway through that game, I looked at my brother and I was like, dude, is it just me, or does Conner Weigman look horrified to take a hit on his lower body right now? And Blaine started watching it the next couple series, and we even rewound it a couple times. And during Mike Elko's post-game press conference, he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing him, but this is basically what he said, Conner Weigman doesn't trust that injury in his leg. Not to run. Running, he was fine. But to take a hit, go watch how unsettled he was in that pocket. Go watch how quick he was trying to get that ball out. Not that you don't want to get the ball out quick, but you still have to take some time for the route combinations to develop, for the timing routes to get set up. That's why he had so much success early on those rub routes on 3rd and short, because he was able to get the ball out quick. He was like, oh, hell, this is quick game. I'm just going to set my feet and get out of here. You're not sacking me. But anything where he had to go from a primary read to a secondary read to a tertiary read, being the check down, his feet were like he was doing up downs, because when your feet are moving, your mind is moving. Those two things are connected when you're in the pocket at quarterback. So, Man, I think a lot of it, and I don't want to take any credit away from Notre Dame's defense, and you called this game on the dot, Barrett. I want to give you some love on this one. Me and Nick Saban got this one wrong, but I just felt like he was just worried about it. And that's something
comparable coaches.
But Barrett, like, you know this. If you've ever played and you have an injury, especially a leg injury, whether it's a foot, whether it's an ankle, whether it's a knee, the hardest part isn't the rehab. The hardest part is trusting it, especially in a game like football, where, remember, he got hurt because the Auburn guy went flying in there and landed on his lower body. So I think that had a decent amount to do with it. But Notre Dame, man, I was more impressed, though, with Notre Dame's offensive line being able to hold up there at the end with that true freshman left tackle than anything, though.
It'll be interesting to see what happens this week. Jake, appreciate it. Let everybody know how they can find you.
Oh, yeah, Barrett. It's always fun to come on, buddy. We got to get you back on the show here soon. Look, it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you like football, think you're going to like our show. It's CRAIN and Company live 2 to 3:30 p.m. Central. Got live calls and a live chat. I'll be the one in the middle with the good-looking smile and the correct takes.
Jake, appreciate it.
All right, Barrett. Thanks, buddy.
You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. Everybody's talking about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We'll have something a little different for you now. 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment. Who doesn't have a Google account? Everybody's got one at any time. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's talk about Arkansas State. I know what you're thinking, Arkansas State. Why the hell would I be talking about Arkansas State? But to wrap the show up, it's pretty funny. I do not like Butch Jones. Butch Jones knows that I do not like Butch Jones. We have had quite a few conversations privately that have been interesting. Let's put it that way. He needed a missed call to beat Central Arkansas last week. If you did not see this, the Sun Belt released a statement that said the replay review of a touchdown in the corner of the end zone for Arkansas State, which was initially ruled incomplete, was ruled complete, but there's one angle of the video that shows clearly that it was not. This is with 6 seconds left. Butch Jones needed a missed call to beat Central Arkansas. Now, I know Central Arkansas is probably going to be good, but if that doesn't encapsulate exactly what Butch Jones is, look, he's on one of the hottest seats in the country. This ain't helping. This ain't helping. That will do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Really appreciate you guys checking out the show. Remember, for your second listen, go check on the Locked On College Football podcast. Spencer McLaughlin does a great job covering all things college football, so go check that out. You can find the link for the Locked On College Football podcast in the description below, so you don't need to search. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you very much. We will talk tomorrow on College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On.